Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you being here. Well, today we're going to get some milling done. All right, first I'm going to check my pith. Oh, that's squeaky. I'm going to check my pith height. So we've got an 8-inch pith. I'm going to mark that pith, folks. It's right there. Okay, and that means that my juvenile wood is really right here. I want to try to box that. So that's 8 inches. Now come down here. That end is really punky, but we're about 8 inches, so we can make this work. Now, this is the big end. You should draw this out on the small end, but due to lighting and me forgetting to turn the camera on, I'm gonna draw it out on this end. So what I'm gonna do, my first cut is gonna be to open up this face. Okay, now I rolled this log around so that my stress is horizontal. That means that there's a bend to this log like this. So there's going to be compression fibers here, and the way this thing grew, it's going to want to bend this way when I'm finished making boards. That means that I'm going to want my boards to come across here, so I'm going to show you that. Now, if I plan the center here at 1.5 inches, 1 3/4, a little over 1 3/4 inches, okay, that's going to give me a 3 5/8 cant out of the center. So I'm going to try to come across here. I want to take this out, okay? Then when I do finally mill, my boards are going to go that way, and then I want another 3 5/8 here, okay? So I want to come across here, and I want another one here. So that's going to be about here. We're going to take this one out, take this cap cut out. We're going to roll it 90 degrees. We're going to take this out. Okay, then we're going to roll it again, and we're going to take this cap cut out, and this one here is the bottom. Okay, side, bottom, side. Notice my arrows. So this is bottom, that means this is the top here. So we're going to go cut, cut, cut. Then what we should be doing, we make that cap cut across here. We drop 3 5/8 of an inch, so really 3 3/4, because you need an 1/8 for the curve. We take this cut across here. Then we drop again, we take this cut across here. Now we will have 3 sides, 3 cants with the pith and heart centered in the center cant. And then we can take the top off with the simple set at 1 3/4 inches. We can start knocking it down. 1 3/4 inches, 1 3/4. Now here, I want my 1 3/4 inches to land right there. And then 1 3/4, 1 3/4. So that these are going to be my 2x4s, okay? Like so. Hopefully you can see that. So there's different ways of doing this to make sure you get to the center. You could come here and spend a bit of time doing your math and figuring out, well, at 1 3/4 inches I need to be 8.5 or 9 and whatever, and measure it out from there and get it what you need to get. But that's not, I don't always do that. When I'm really trying to really produce, I'm willing to take the odd skim cut. Yes, I know there are those that would never do that, but the truth is I cut so many different dimensions that I get confused sometimes, and I'm like, wait, I'm cutting 1 5/8, not 1 7/8 or whatever. So it is a bit of a hazard with always cutting to what the customer wants. A lot of guys will only cut at 1 3/4. 1 3/4, 3 3/4, that gives them a curve. It leaves them 1 5/8 and 3 5/8. If they cut every single log that way when they're doing dimensional lumber, they know their settings all the time and there's no issue. I tend to be, if the customer wants me to cut in 1/16 of an inch, I'll cut that. They're the customer, and I'm happy to do that for them. But it does mean that I go, wait, it was going to be 9.5, now it's going to be 9 7/8 or whatever, and I have to write them down. So, and we'll do that here. But in any case, that's what I'm looking to do, and I want to make sure. Now, if I get my calculation wrong, I've been known to do that, folks, then what I'm going to do, if I'm coming down and I cut this line right here, halfway between these two, I know that my next cut's going to split the pith. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come half the depth down, cut above the heart right here, then drop it 1 3/4 inches and cut under it and keep on going. So I've done that plenty of times. If I miscalculate, I'm also generally, you know, you measure off the small end, and if your pith wanders a little bit, you may find out that no matter how well you planned it on the small end, you're on the big end and it's going to cut through the pith, and so you've got to adjust and cut around it. You want to box that heart in, that's just what you got to do. So we're going to get to it and we're going to get that done. Let's do it. wasn't that deep. All right, let me pull this off and show what I'm doing. As I said, you don't always get, my height calculation is correct. I will go right to the deck and leave 1 5/8 thick 2x4s, basically 1 5/8 by 3 5/8, and I'll do that right to the deck, no correction required. But as I got down and I got to this point, I said, you know, I could get a 1x out of the wood above the heartwood and the pith. So I went ahead and I took this one out, and then that left me the heart itself. And I honestly, I did a bit of a goof here, folks. I said, oh, well, I'm gonna drop down so that my next cut will start after this one, and I cut too shallow. It happens sometimes. So I only cut about 3/4 of an inch there, and that left me with the bottom of the heartwood. No problem, cut those out. We can make use of those for different reasons, and now no more pith, no more heart. We're good to go, and I can go chunk, chunk, chunk. Now, to get here, to get to the right starting point, I've got to, because I took it off my simple set and made those cuts, which is part of the reason why I kind of goofed up probably. All I've got to do now is set it to 5 1/8 of an inch, and then chunk, chunk, chunk. So what I'm going to do, because this is good wood now, we're out of the heart, no pith here. This is good wood, but I've got wane on the other side of these 3 cants. So at this point, what I do is clear off all the lumber that I've got here now, and I will flip all 3 of these cants to put that wane up top, and I'll take it down to 5 1/8 to clear out some of this wane before I keep going. And then my last 9 boards should be good to go. So let's get her done. And these can be used. They can be used for a number of different purposes, really. They're just thin. The beauty of milling for yourself is, you know what, if it ain't exactly what the doctor ordered, you just make it work. You find some way to use it.
Well, you can use it for trim.
Yeah, trim, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Gotta love it when the hydraulics are working. I guess I need to unplant it, huh? That's all right. All right, folks, well, there you have it. I hope you saw that. Had that little goof in the middle, but it still worked out. And that last little bit there where I flipped it back up and put the wane up top, you'll notice I had a couple pieces here and there that I had to toss out. That's kindling, but you know what? Got one right out of the center and the rest all the way down. Worked out perfect. Now that, obviously, if you're not filming and you're doing that over and over and over and over again, you get pretty fast at it. And you can put a log up, cut, 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 make those 3 cuts, bang, 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 and again, odds over even. So the mission there was to get 3 cants out where the center cant boxed in the heart. And that's what I did, though I ended up splitting it with between 2 little 3/4 inch skim cuts because my calculation was off a little bit. That's gonna happen, we're all human, right? But otherwise, all those 2x4s that came out of there, no hard or juvenile wood in them, really nice, looking good, the way they should be, and that's all we can ask for, folks. That's the mission here, is to get the best lumber we can out of a log in the shortest period of time. So a lot of guys, you know, they put the log up, they just take a cut off right away without looking at where the stress is. You got to do that. You got to look at it and see where that log is bending or sweeping before you even start to cut, and place that stress either vertical or horizontal. Some guys place it vertical. That's fine. You got to choose what works for you, but put it somewhere you know where it is. And when you just start out, mark it. Put an arrow on it that says this is where my stress is. So, and then draw where you want one of those pieces of lumber to come out. You want them to come out with the stress to crown, or do you want them to come out with a face bend that you can nail down flat? That's what you do, and then you set that log up so that there's not a lot of turning. The big thing that I see online a lot is they cut the top off, then they flip it 180 degrees, cut the bottom off, get their width, and I understand why they're doing it. They're just trying to make sure they get the width that they want to get, and then they rotate it 90 and take the bottom off, and then they rotate it 180. Well, you've just rotated that log 4 times more than I do. If I cut the top, rotate once, cut the top, rotate once, that's 3 rotations now, that's it. You've rotated 180, you rotated it twice before, you're gonna rotate it 6 times to my 4 times. So I'm gonna rotate once, cut the slab, twice, cut the slab, the 3rd time, cut the slab, and then cut to get my cants out of it, rotate it up. I've still got all that bark on top, knock it right to the deck. I'm rotating just those times, right? 3 times versus 6 or whatever. A guy's rolling 180. It isn't that I don't roll 180 degrees either. I've done it plenty of times. If I've got a log that I know I've got to be really careful, I'm only going to barely be able to squeak out the cant that I want, absolutely I'm going to roll it 180 degrees. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that if you're trying to production mill, the goal is to produce more in a shorter period of time, and of course to still produce good lumber. That means that you can't be rotating a log 6 or 8 or 12 times to get it milled down. If you can do it in 3 rotations, you're gonna produce more lumber per hour than anybody else. That's all I'm saying. So listen, folks, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you got something out of it. I really appreciate you being here, and don't forget to hit that like button. I'll drop a video right here for you to check out. Y'all have a great day. Yo, Jarhead out.